Good evening, everybody. Today I have an interesting list for everybody. So I found a red-white land destruction-y, planeswalker-y deck that I've tried to play variations of in the past, and I do enjoy. But this one was a little bit different. Something interesting that I saw is that this deck is running Cleansing Wildfire in the main deck. Now, it's good versus Tron, can slow him down and whatnot, but I noticed something interesting. This deck is not heavy on 3-drops. I also adjusted. This deck was Mardu, and I have adjusted it down to red-white. It was splashing black for Kaya and Oath of Kaya. 2 Kayas and 1 Oath. I didn't think it was necessary, so I made some adjustments. But something I noticed is Cleansing Wildfire synergizes with Cascading Cataracts, Darksteel Citadels, and Flagstones of Trocaire to become sort of this cantripping rampant growth effect. And it's not something you need to do a lot of, just like doing this once in a deck like this seems really nice to get us to our 4-mana walkers and wraths and stuff early. So, in addition, all of those lands synergize with Boom and Bust, and yeah, I'm just kind of interested to see how this goes. I did not adjust the sideboard at all. This is the sideboard verbatim. So yeah, let's go ahead and run this through a constructed league and just see what happens. I might just like end up going like 0-5 or whatever, but we'll see what happens. This struck my fancy, and we'll see if this interaction's any good. All right, I'd love to play first. Land destruction decks generally would like to. This hand's not bad, but it doesn't do anything early. Oh, the other thing is I don't have sunbaked canyons, so I'm playing a suboptimal list out of the gate. Okay. Well, we've got Inspiring Vantage Flagstones into Boom, which will give us double red for Pillage. So I'm going to keep this. I'm going to put back a Johnny and Relic. A Johnny is something to do post land destruction shenanigans, but we need 3 mana. If we don't have 3 mana, we're going to have a bad time. So my opponent plays around Boom and Bust. Unfortunately for us. Oh, hang on. Turn off auto yields. They cracked during our pre-combat. Alright, pass the turn. I should have played the Flagstones in case they did something like that. So it looks like my opponent's playing the Uro deck right now. Okay. Play Flagstones. Go ahead and boom. Target our Flagstones, target their Triome. They probably have a Remand or a Mana Leak, but... Yep, there's the Mana Leak. Okay. Pass the turn. This felt bad already. I should have played the Flagstones when I had the chance. We can't cast Pillage, but we can cast Cleansing Wildfire on ourselves. Looks like my opponent is playing a... Oh, it's a Teferi. Okay. Well, we draw Sacred Foundry. I am going to Pillage now. Pass the turn. Opponent does get a redraw with Teferi if they want it. We draw Snow-Covered Mountain. So play Snow-Covered Mountain to play around a Mana Leak. Oops. Let's go ahead and tap like this to Cleansing Wildfire ourself. They could Field of Ruin, which would deny us drawing a card. So we get a basic. We get a Triome. We draw a Pillage. Try casting a Pillage on their blue source. Opponent is going to field our Triome. No basics. Opponent does get another blue source. This is a very, very weird game. I would really like to draw a Planeswalker now, please. Opponent ticks up to Fairy, plays a tapped island, Growth Spirals into a Plains, sure. We untap and draw Lightning Helix, which unfortunately does not do anything. We could shrink Teferi and prevent them from drawing a card, so I'm going to do that, because we can't play anything at instant speed anyway. Pass the turn. Opponent takes up Teferi to 3, plays a Jace the Mind Sculptor. Alright, wish I'd saved that Lightning Helix. Alright. Well, I think we failed, but I also mulled to 5. So, can we do better? Absolutely. Our opponent's going to start fetch land, though. which is going to make our, what would you call it? 2-mana land destruction pretty bad. Crack Relic, we'll draw a card. Alright. Cool. Let's try this again, shall we? Also, one thing I want to look up really quick before I do anything else. How many basics does the Uropile deck play? 1 forest, 1 island, 1 plains that are all snow, and a regular forest and island. Okay. So the whole Cleansing Wildfire, our opponent line, is not really a line. I do want Chandra's, and I actually think I want Guttural Response. I'm going to drop the Lightning Helix as the life gain doesn't feel super good here. Or super necessary, I should say. Relic is kind of good. Firebolt feels really bad as well. And then... I'm going to cut a Lightning Bolt. We're going to try like this. Lightning Bolt does indeed kill Jace, but at the same time... if our opponent wants to keep him alive, they can just plus him once and we'll never kill him. Alright. This is technically a hand. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to put back Sacred Foundry. And I'm going to start Inspiring Vantage. Pass the turn. I would much rather have a Boom and Bust, but Cleansing Wildfire ourself hopefully cycles us into something nice. We draw Pillage, which is good. So, get a mountain. We draw Cascading Cataracts, which is perfect. We'll get a Triome, just so we don't draw any tap lands, pass the turn. This is basically in here as Sacred Foundry number 5, with the slight upside of having cycling if necessary. Okay, opponent fetches up a Triome. They play a Flooded Strand. They crack Flooded Strand. Get a Hallowed Fountain untapped. And then what? They pass. We draw Snow-Covered Plains. So play Cascading Cataracts. And I'm going to Wildfire the Cataracts. Get our last basic. We draw Talisman. So play Talisman. This is actually a lot of mana for a red-white deck at this stage of the game. Like, we're a ramp deck in colors that don't normally ramp, and that's really interesting to me. Okay, opponent plays a Renin 6, picks up a fetch land, and passes. We draw Guttural Response, which I do like. So, play Snow-Covered Plains. We have 7 mana. So we could play a Johnny and downtick on Renin 6 if we wanted to, but I think we uptick on one of their lands and then pillage their other one. So I'm going to start with the pillage just in case my opponent has a counterspell. I kind of want a Guttural Response. They do have a Force of Negation. They pitch Growth Spiral. Yeah, I'm going to Guttural Response this. Okay. This denies them mana that they can produce anyway. Pass the turn. Sure, Renin 6, they just get to pick it back up again, but we are ahead of them on total number of mana. And we can stay that way for a little bit. So, Lightning Bolt Renin 6 on our opponent's end step. Untap. We draw another Cleansing Wildfire. Play a Johnny. Okay, a Johnny resolves. Kill Renin 6. Do we Cleansing Wildfire? Might as well, I guess. If we hit... There's not a lot we can top deck into, and they might just mana leak this. They don't. They might just be out of counterspells. Another Cleansing Wildfire. Okay, pass the turn. Opponent cracks Flooded Strand. I really like the fact that this cantrips. This feels really good. Okay, opponent plays a Flooded Strand. Passes. We draw a Karn. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana still. So we can't Karn, Cleansing Wildfire, and Liquid Metal Coating. But we can Karn Trinisphere. So... Cleansing Wildfire, Steam Vents. If nothing else, just to get a tap land onto the battlefield so that we can uptick a Johnny. If my opponent has a Bolt to kill a Johnny, that sucks. But, like, There's not a lot else we can do right now. Okay, opponent's going to float mana. Can we draw Chandra, Acolyte of Flame? Tick up on the island. Okay, opponent cracks Flooded Strand. They get a Plains. They're worried about Blood Moon, which is kind of funny. Cryptic Command, they're going to bounce a Johnny. Okay. I suspect they have a Force then. Since we're casting a Planeswalker anyway, might as well cast the one they know about. If this resolves, we uptick on Hallowed Fountain. Okay, they do have a Force, they pitch Cryptic. Okay, so next turn we can play Chandra and flashback Pillage. We're doing a lot better this game. I felt really bad. I was like, oh, this is not going well, but like, it's better than I thought it might be. The opponent's going to put Force of Negation on top of their deck. They play Jace, so they're going to draw Force of Negation here. Okay. So, okay, we draw Chandra. We still have 7 mana, so in this case, what we want to do is play Chandra. Chandra resolves. So if I downtick for Lightning Bolt, they might force. They probably would not force a Pillage at this point. Okay. I want to hit a land destruction spell. I really do. Okay. Well, downtick on Lightning Bolt. I do have a backup plan, sort of. Okay, that worked. I actually didn't expect that to work. So, past the turn, my backup plan was playing the other Chandra this turn. Okay, opponent plays a Scalding Tarn, cracks it, goes to 11. Gets a tap land. And passes. We draw an Inspiring Vantage. So, -2 for Pillage. Pillage the Tri-land they just played. Play an Inspiring Vantage. Play Chandra. This gonna get the Force? Alright, that finally got the Force. Nice, pass the turn. We're kind of running this Uro deck out of cards. In hand, anyway. We've survived a couple of Planeswalkers. Okay, opponent plays a Raugrin Triome. We untap. We draw another land. So play the land. Play Karn. Karn resolves. So if I was going to wish for something, I should probably wish for Liquimetal Coating. I could wish for Trinisphere. That would stop Force of Negation shenanigans. Yeah, we're going to get Coating. Play Coating. Hey, it resolved. Oh, that's right, because they pitched a Cryptic Command to a Force of Will. Okay. On their upkeep, we are going to try and shut off Ketria Triome, because it produces red mana. So if our opponent has a Lightning Bolt and they want to kill Karn, and they could potentially draw it, as an example. Alright, we untap. We draw another Cascading Cataracts. I mean, I could wish for Ensnaring Bridge, but I think I kill Field of the Dead here. Play Cataracts, pass the turn. The cool thing is, we have so much mana now that if we draw Boom and Bust, we can play the Armageddon mode. Okay, opponent attacks Karn down to 2. We keep drawing lands. Next turn they attack Karn down to 1 if we do this. I could just wish for an Ensnaring Bridge, but they have Cryptic Commands and stuff. I think we blow up lands while we can. Actually, hang on. I could get a Wormcoil Engine and also lose Karn. Nah. I think we just have to try and not top deck a land for the 4th turn in a row. That's the turn. We do have 10 mana, 11 mana? Yeah, here's where I wish I had Sunbaked Canyons. Okay, so opponent top decked an Uro, it looks like. They did not play a land from hand, meaning they have 3 non-land cards. Okay. Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's go ahead and bust, destroy all lands. Mana leak this. No, 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 don't actually. Aether Gust. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put that on top. And I'm going to animate liquid metal coating. Do I do that? Yeah, actually I do that. So I want to keep Talisman around to have red and white mana after busting. So we're going to animate liquid metal coating to make a blocker. Pass the turn. Because if we can keep Karn around, that's amazing. Okay, it looks like our opponent's playing an Uro out of Grave. Okay, there's the Uro. Opponent gets to gain 3 life and draw. Uro is a problem. They play Misty, so I think they drew a land. They might have just automatically clicked that, or they actually have a some kind of answer to the situation here. So what we're going to do is we're going to float all of our mana before casting Bust. Mystic Sanctuary, put Cryptic on top. Okay, they might actually just have us totally done here, because if they have a Cryptic now, we're probably screwed. Opponent attacks Karn. So block the zombie with liquid metal coating, shut off Hollowed Fountain for the rest of this turn, trade with the zombie. We untap and draw Bust. Alright, cast Bust. Oh, it's going to Mana Leak. Okay, so we have 2 mana. Unfortunately, that does prevent us from casting an Ensnaring Bridge like I had hoped. So we're going to have to animate Talisman to block for Karn. Oh, I've never resolved an Armageddon in Modern. No one told me it'd be this silly. My opponent is drawing multiple cards a turn. Kind of just depends on our top decks, really. Next turn we can land an Ensnaring Bridge, regardless. We know our opponent has a Cryptic. Okay, we're going to Wish. Definitely getting Ensnaring Bridge. If my opponent has a Force, this is game. But, like, they've played 2. We got there! Oh, man, not what I expected at all. So Glass Casket is very obviously an answer to Uro. Had I played that a little bit differently, I probably could have done better. Alright, yeah, I'm just gonna run it back. I don't know what else I can do here. Hopefully we get a better, like, land disruption hand. That was pretty sweet, though. We have no lands that are good to offensively use Boom and Bust or Cleansing Wildfire. Lightning Bolts here are kind of good, but are not, like, super great. Our opponent did keep 7, I think. Hang on. Show game log. No, they mulliganed to 6. Okay. I think I'm going to mulligan to 6. I want to see if I can get a land destruction spell and a indestructible land like this. Did my opponent mulligan again? Nope, they keep 6. Okay, I'm going to keep, and I'm going to put back a Karn. Opponent starts Mystic Sanctuary. I'll start Inspiring Vantage, pass the turn. Man, having a bunch of indestructible lands and then just going, haha, Armageddon is really fun. Okay, so we untap. We draw a Talisman of Conviction. So we can either play Talisman, or we can play Cleansing Wildfire. I kind of like Cleansing Wildfire slightly more, just because it cantrips. I understand why Kaya was in the deck now, though. Kaya is additional Grave Hate. I'm going to get a second red source here. We also draw another indestructible land. Pass the turn. Yeah, cantripping Rampant Growth seems really good. It just feels really good, too. Especially in red, because it's like, it's good card advantage. It's like Geomancer's Gambit, which people were using in Limited to, like, fix their mana. And Geomancer's Gambit on 3 is not great, but, like, it felt good then, and it feels good now. Like, so my opponent growth spirals in a Field of Ruin, and plays a Teferi Time Raveler. Drawing a card. Okay. I suspect my opponent has Force. But I suppose we can find out. Let's start by bolting Teferi. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play Chandra. If my opponent has a Force, they were disciplined enough to hold it for something like this. Of course, if they Force now, they're going down to 3 cards in hand. Force of Negation, pitching Force of Negation. Alright. Oh boy, Karn's coming. Okay. Opponent now has Cryptic mana. That's bad. They field our Inspiring Vantage. They must need to fix their mana. I guess they're gonna get a Forest. They probably have a Growth Spiral. I'm gonna get a Plains. Yeah, I suspect they have like Mana Leak or Growth Spiral. So we're going to play a Darksteel Citadel to play around the potential Censor or Jwari Isle Disruption. I doubt they have something like that, but ooh, Karn resolved. All right, let's go wishing. I guess, yeah, I guess I'll get a Liquid Metal Coating, and we're gonna go ahead and play a Relic. Okay, make our opponent exile a card from their grave. Pass the turn. The fun thing about this is, oh, my opponent does not have Cryptic Mana. Okay, opponent plays an Uro. If they can get Uro on, like actually on board, no, they can't. They won't have enough mana. We can just get rid of Uro. I think this is just a cantrip. Nice! Holy crap! We beat the top deck in the format. We are 1-0, which is not how I expected to start. This deck is a surprise. I am surprised and happy. All right. Round 2. On the draw. I hope we play less controlling matchups, because that's kind of what I want to see here. All right, this actually has some potential. I'm going to keep this, because we're on the draw. If we get a third land or an indestructible land, which, let's face it, it's pretty likely, I've got a feeling that this is going to be good. Could be wrong. We're learning. Aether Vial, okay. So this is probably Merfolk. We did draw Cascading Cataracts, which is good. We will be able to Cleansing Wildfire to get a second mountain. Okay, opponent puts Vial on 1. Plays a Misty, cracks Misty, gets a Forest. Is this green-blue Merfolk, or is this Spirits? Another Aether Vial. It's Spirits. So, Lightning Bolt the Wanderer. The good news is my opponent is almost out of cards. And unless they have a second Wanderer and are willing to use it on a Rampant Growth, we're probably okay in the meantime. So, Cleansing Wildfire ourself. They have a second Wanderer? They do. Are they going to use it? Wow, okay. So opponent is down to 2 cards in hand, and we have Damnation, or we have Wrath of Gods and Day of Judgments in this deck, so that's pretty sweet. I think we're gonna have a game. If we top deck a red source, I'm just pillaging that Aether Vial. Alright, opponent plays a Horizon Canopy. Fair, fair. They crack Horizon Canopy to draw a card. We untap. We draw a Lightning Bolt. So, what are the odds they have a third Maelstrom Wanderer? I think it's not great. I don't want to bolt myself. This could backfire. It's very unlikely they have a third Maelstrom War. Oh my god, really? Unbelievable. Okay. Alright. Forgive me, everybody, for not playing around my opponent having a 3 of. Because I could have. Oh, jeez. Alright, well, that happened. The good news is, they probably don't have the 4th one. The bad news is, now they probably have Spell Queller, which we have Lightning Bolt for, and Wrath of God for backup. We have no second red source right now, which is really killing us. As soon as we get the second red source, we should be fine, but a second white source will be nice for a Wrath, especially because we potentially have a Lightning Bolt to deal with a Queller. Okay, opponent plays a Hallowed Fountain tapped. We untap. We draw Flagstones. Okay. Wrath of God online. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent leaves Vials on 3 and 2. Oh my god, I just realized Cascading Cataracts can add mana in any combination of colors. I always thought it was add 1 of every color, and I now realize how terribly I misunderstood that. Still no second red source. So we're gonna pass. This Coco? This feels like a Coco, yep. It's Coco. Unsettled Mariner. Whiff. Wow. That is probably the worst collected company I've seen of all time. No, that's actually not true. That is not true. I have seen worse than that. And I will leave it up to your imagination on what worst collected company look like. Okay, opponent attacks for 2. Go down to 18. I want to save this Lightning Bolt for a Spell Queller. Okay, we draw Boom and Bust. So we're going to Boom, killing our Flagstones and a Hallowed Fountain. And we're going to pay 1 extra. This should get us to double red, hopefully. Awesome. So get the Triome. Pass the turn. This deck would be so much better with Sunbaked Canyons. Because, like, Sunbaked Canyons, in the event that you Armageddon, you can just sack to draw, and you can also target them with Boom and Bust and crack them to draw a card in response. Oh man, so opponent gets a Drog Skull Captain. Kind of hope they go deep on protecting this Captain. Need to draw more lands, more red sources. We're going to try Wrath of God here. If they have anything, they have Spell Queller. And if they have Spell Queller, we have Lightning Bolt. Okay? So we deal with the first couple spirits. And at this point, I think... Okay, opponent flashes into Rattle Chains. I think I'm just going to bolt that. Oh, they do have Spell Queller. And they were playing around the Lightning Bolt. Oh, they have Glass Pool Mimic. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. Actually, with Chandra in this deck, I probably should have put Anger of the Gods in the sideboard. I did not expect a Glass Pool Mimic, and I suppose I should have. Opponent attacks us for 4, we go to 9. Okay, we draw. There's another red land. So I suppose we'll try and pillage the Aether Vial. Okay, pass the turn. Okay, opponent attacks us for 4. We go down to 5. We untap and draw Emrakul. That's there for the whole Nahiri package. Oh, I guess we're going to try and pillage Aether Vial. If they can vial in anything, we're dead. Skyclave Apparition, yeah, that does kill us. Okay. So next game will be on the play. I do want Timely Reinforcements, and I kind of want a Pithing Needle, but like, that's in the Wishboard. Chandra might be a little ambitious, but we're getting up to like high mana costs pretty easily. Like, we're getting to 6 mana in just about every single game that we play, which is way better than I thought we would get to, which is really strange. She is technically another sweeper, but odds are she's not going to kill our opponent's creatures and stuff, because if they have like multiple lords, their toughness is going to be higher than 3. So I think we just bring in 1 Timely Reinforcements. I'm going to cut the relic. I guess I'll cut the other relic for Chandra. Our opponent doesn't use their grave, so we would like to play first. Almost. It's a mulligan, though. Okay, this hand can get to double red. If we can curve Boom into a pillage, this hand will be great. The problem here is if our opponent starts land Mausoleum Wanderer instead of land Aether Vial, we're probably going to have a bad time. I like the Day of Judgment in the opener, so the question is, do we put back Karn or do we put back Chandra? And I think I got to put back Chandra. Karn is further off and potentially is like... I mean, it's way worse if we don't ever draw the lands to play Karn, but if we don't ever draw the lands to play Karn, we're losing the game, period. So, start Snow-Covered Mountain, pass the turn. When it starts Flooded Strand, cracks Flooded Strand. They could also start Noble Hierarch, and that would be okay. I don't even know if lists even run Noble Hierarch nowadays. Oh, they do. Can we draw Lightning Helix, so play Flagstones. And we're going to Boom because we need to fix our mana. Flagstones trigger, we'll go ahead and get the Triome. Pass the turn. They play a Horizon Canopy into a Selfless Spirit. We untap. We draw an Inspiring Vantage. Play Inspiring Vantage. I think we just pillage the land. It's going to be hard for them to continue playing this game like this. I also don't think they run that many lands in the Spirits deck. Like, they have a decent number because they're a tempo deck, but like... Okay, they run 20 lands in the Spirits deck. So the possibility that we just destroy enough that they kind of like derp out a little bit, I mean, it's real. The opponent plays a second Selfless Spirit, attacks us for 3, we untap, we draw another Karn. So we're going to try and Lightning Helix Noble Hierarch. This should force them to sack a Selfless Spirit, because they're so choked on mana. If they don't... Okay. So they do. We at least gain the life. We do need to draw another piece of removal to deal with the other Selfless Spirit. Yeah, opponent plays a Supreme Phantom, gets in for 3. Take 3. We untap, we draw, boom, and bust. We do not have an indestructible land, and I really wish we did, because this would be so good right now. I'm actually going to go ahead and restart the client really quick, because it's lagging really hard. Alright, we appear to be back, but lagging slightly while it catches back up, I guess. Come on, Moto, I believe. Alright, cool. So we're not casting anything this turn, which is really unfortunate. So ideally we draw, like, a Darksteel Citadel. We play Karn. Okay, opponent attacks for 4. Take 4. Go to 12. Opponent passes, we draw Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt is pretty good here. So we'll go ahead and Lightning Bolt Noble Hierarch. Okay, opponent plays a Rattle Chains. They can't give Noble Hierarch Hexproof. Okay, if they sack Selfless Spirit, I think I cast Boom, but if they don't, I don't. Unfortunately, or I guess it's good for us because if we had Lightning Bolted anything else, they would have just given it Hexproof and we'd have had a bad time. They finally do top deck a land. We are going to have to cast a Wrath into our opponent just sacking Selfless Spirit, and then if they have one more point of damage, we're just dead. Firebolt might technically keep us alive. Okay, we need to top deck a Painless untapped land. We have a lot of them. Never mind, we're dead. Alright, well, Spirits is kind of the nightmare scenario, but we put up a good fight. We really did. Speaking of which, the Inspiring Vantages are what I replaced the Sunbaked Canyons with, just because I don't have them. A playset of them is like $70 on Moto. Once again, on the draw. Whoops, didn't mean to leave the chat log open. I'm sorry, everybody. Hopefully it's not too long post-editing. No Indestructible Land. Cleansing Wildfire, we're on the draw. I'm going to keep. There's a chance for some pretty high upside, and also, like, we could just Cleansing Wildfire our opponent and really hose someone who's not playing a lot of basics. Like, if it's Death Shadow and they start with a basic land for some reason, that sort of a thing. Our opponent did mulligan to 6, which is good for us. They start Stomping Ground tapped. We draw a Triome, so play a Triome, pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays a Windswept Teeth. This could be Ponza'd. This would be hilarious if we could give Ponza'd a taste of their own medicine. Play a Mountain, and I actually think I'm going to boom. Okay, pass the turn. They fetch up another Stomping Ground. They play a Forest. They Utopia Sprawl the Forest. Well, that turns Cleansing Wildfire into an actual land destruction spell that cantrips. Nice Utopia Sprawl, bro. Oh, that's so rude. We draw a Lightning Bolt. Bring on the mana dorks. What are you gonna do, Blood Moon me? Don't Blood Moon me, bro. Don't Blood Moon me, bro. Don't do it. You had to do it. Well, it's a good thing we're base red. So we untap. We draw Talisman, which is nice. Play Talisman. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Courser of Crufix. The top card of their library is, in fact, a Lightning Bolt. They play a Forest. Gain a life. We draw another Talisman. So, play Talisman of Conviction. Firebolt Courser. Lightning Bolt Courser. Opponent draws a Lightning Bolt. And then we can just start pillaging their lands, I guess. Okay. Play Flagstones. Pillage. Forest. Pass the turn. Land destruction versus land destruction. Could you imagine a more miserable matchup? Oh, gosh. The cool thing is we have white mana, too, even under a Blood Moon right now. My opponent just floated 3 mana for nothing. Alright. We draw a Firebolt. We could cast Cleansing Wildfire. I think we just play Nahiri and uptick, discarding Firebolt. Alright, play Flagstones. Oh shoot, they're still legendary. Oh, I should have thought about that. Blood Moon does not change if they're legendary, so that's a punt. Alright, we draw Pillage. So, uptick Nahiri. Discarding Nahiri. Ooh, card. Pillage the forest. Opponent lightning bolts Nahiri in what appears to be a desperation move. Second lightning bolt on Nahiri. Do I hear 3? Do I hear 3 lightning bolts on Nahiri? I do not. Second Blood Moon. Alright, we draw a Day of Judgment, so loot away the Day of Judgment. We get a Johnny. A Johnny is virtual land destruction. Play a Johnny. You know what? We'll say this mountain can't untap. Pass the turn. Oh man, and Chandra is going to come and put counters on everything, and we're going to start getting close to a one-sided Armageddon. Oh man, opponent pillages our Talisman of Conviction. Whatever will we do? Play a mountain. We'll say the forest can't untap. Play Chandra. Counters on everything. This also means, I'm not going to discard a card. This also means double Planeswalker Ultimate, where we're going to blow up all of their lands and get Emrakul. Armageddon and Emrakul in the same turn. Counter on everything. No more lands for you. I'm just going to loot away this land. I want to keep Nahiri for another turn. Ooh. Wish with Karn. Let's get a Trinisphere. Oh my gosh, we just out Ponza'd Ponza. Nice Windswept Teeth. -8. Emrakul. Go to combat. I am drunk with power right now. Annihilate. Game over. Oh man, that was so mean. It was like the meanest thing I could think to do to somebody. Half of our lands are indestructible versus the deck that casts land destruction spells. Oh, that's dirty. I'm bringing in timely reinforcements. I'm gonna go down. I'm not sure what I'm gonna go down. Probably a relic. I don't think we need it. You know what? I'll bring in another Chandra instead of a relic as well. Relic's nice because we can exile other artifacts and like recur them with Karn, but like we don't even like really main deck artifacts that we would ever need to wish for. Like maybe Talisman, right? After we Armageddon. But after we Armageddon, we're winning. So alright. There's no land destruction in this hand. It is therefore insufficient. Technically this works. It's not great though. If we had like one red mana anywhere in this hand, it'd be great. So we can start Flagstones and play a second Flagstones to get red mana. Let me see. I think my opponent kept 6. Yeah. I think it's worth it to try going to 5. Yeah, alright. I'll keep this. I'm going to put back the Triome and a Lightning Bolt. We'll keep the full art one. My opponent starts Dork, it's eating a Lightning Bolt. Okay, my opponent starts Utopia Sprawl. I'm going to start Flagstones of Trocare. Because what are they going to do? Pillage it? I mean, if they cast Blood Moon, they're going to be sad. Scavenging Ooze. That's a nice ooze you got there. Be a shame if I completely ignored it and blew up 2 of your lands at the same time. Oh, dude! This feels illegal. Like... Okay, opponent plays a forest. Eats Boom and Bust, just in case we would be recurring that somehow. Eats our Flagstones. Yeah, that's fine. We draw a Lightning Helix. I can either pillage one of my opponent's lands. Yeah, no. There's no choice here. What am I saying? We're here to make Ponza'd feel bad about themselves. I really love sticking land destruction to the land destruction deck. It feels poetic. They eat our pillage. Yeah, that's fine. We draw a Darksteel Citadel, so play Darksteel Citadel. Go ahead and Cleansing Wildfire ourselves. We will use its ability. We're going to go get a Plains, just to make sure we've got one. We draw another Pillage. And bolt the Ooze. Pass the turn. It's so mean. Alright, Poda plays a Mounted. 3 mana. Courser would be bad. Bone Crusher Giant, not bad. We draw a Lightning Bolt, which is perfect, because what it allows us to... No, actually, that's not true. It's not quite perfect. I think we take 1 hit from the Bone Crusher. We might as well hit the red source. It took them so long to play it. I suspect that they don't have a lot of red sources. It's just bad because we can't bolt and pillage in the same turn. Okay, want to play as a forest. It's this for 4. We draw flagstones. So play flagstones. Bolt the giant. Sure. Go to 10. Pass the turn, leave up Lightning Helix. Now we're to the point where we can just activate Cascading Cataracts and get whatever color mana we want. Want to play as a birds. What's that? Fixing? You know the saying, bolt the bird every time. Okay, we go to 13 life. We draw a Johnny. Ooh. Play a Johnny. Forest does not untap. Pass the turn. Want to play as a Stomping Ground tapped. We untap. We draw a Sacred Foundry. So Stomping Ground doesn't untap this time. I'm just going to hold Sacred Foundry. It is unlikely I need 7 mana in the same turn. And I have Armageddon mana. So... Okay, we draw Flagstones. Uptick on Stomping Ground. I am going to play Flagstones just to thin my deck. This is not technically correct. I think I still should be holding it, but also there's a possibility I want to get Ensnaring Bridge off of Karn or something like that. Want to play as an Arbor Elf. Come on, Armageddon. Darksteel Citadel. It's not going to ult anyway. This does prevent 1 mana this turn. Play Darksteel Citadel because it survives Armageddon. So this is bad if my opponent has Red Source and then like a Stormbreath Dragon or a Glorybringer. Cindervines. I do not care about Cindervines. We draw Karn. Okay, so maybe I care a little bit about Cindervines if I draw Karn. But let's see. We can go get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Any 5-drop artifact or less out of this sideboard. We could get Pithing Needle for Cindervines. That would be fun. Note, my use of the word fun here is extremely subjective. Go ahead and wish. We'll get Pithing Needle. Play Pithing Needle. Take a damage. Name Cindervines. Okay, pass the turn. Opponent has to have red mana and a bolt to deal with Karn. Okay, Windswept Heath will get red mana. They get a Stomping Ground untapped. 4 mana. Crumble to Dust hitting the Triome. The 1 card that's a singleton. Oh, they get to look at our whole deck, though. I mean, personally, I think I'd have hit Flagstones or Cascading Cataracts. But, yeah, we untap. We draw an Inspiring Vantage. We'll say Stomping Ground, can't untap. I'm going to wish for, I guess, just Wormcoil Engine. That's a card they can't answer on the best of days. Plus, it's going to offset all this Cindervine damage. Want to play as a Wrenn and 6. They can start picking up lands out of the grave. I almost expected them to downtick and kill Karn. Almost. Okay, we untap. We draw another Cascading Cataract, so we'll play that. Definitely, if you plan on playing this deck, you're gonna want Sunbaked Canyon. 100%. Because it would be so good in situations like this to be able to just sack lands away. Like, I probably should have even played like a Silent Clearing or something. Okay, kill Wrenn and 6. Uptick Karn. No targets. Pass the turn. Dragon. Stormbreath. Okay, they have to hit a Johnny. Okay. Johnny goes to 3. We draw Chandra, Torch of Defiance. Go to combat. Attack for 6. Uptick on a red land. Uptick Karn. No targets. Play Chandra. Take a damage. 4 damage to Stormbreath. Because it has protection from white, so it's not like we can... Nice! Out Ponza'd the Ponza player. Oh, man. Oh, that was dirty. Yeah, no, Utopia Sprawl is not good versus Ghost Quarter. It is good versus Field of Ruin because frequently they just put it on basic forests, but like Cleansing Wildfires and Ghost Quarter do not care whether they target a basic or a non-basic, and neither does Boom and Bust. And Boom and Bust is even more brutal because it nukes the land underneath and doesn't let them get a replacement. So that felt great. After having lost so many games to Ponza'd on camera, like for all of my recent like Tron leagues and stuff, it felt good to just beat the snot out of them. All right. Round 4, here we go. Would love to play first. Oh man, yeah, this is good. This is real good. We'll keep. This is an on the play Sacred Foundry Flagstones Boom. So as long as my opponent doesn't start fetch land, we're fine. Or their own Flagstones as an example. The nice thing is, Boom and Bust can't be Inquisitioned, because Inquisition sees the entire CMC of the split card. Ooh. Steam Vents untapped. Smells like an opt to me, really. Could be a Spell Pierce. Not many decks, I think, would even run Spell Pierce. So, Boom will take out their land. Spell Snare. Alright. They did have the 1-mana counter. Not something you see all that often. But it plays an island. So I suspect this is it Control then, because it's just about the only deck that would play that card. Alright, fire off a Pillage. See how many counter spells they got. Remand, put it back in our hand. Polluted Delta, huh? Alright, we draw Cleansing Wildfire. Do we play around a Censor? I don't think so. I think we just attempt another Pillage here. Opponent has another Remand, sure. Play Amaria, Shattered Skyclave. We are not going to pay 3 life. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent cracks Polluted Delta. It's a Steam Vents untapped and opts. Sure. Well, they gotta tap out sometime for something. Probably. Alright. They do have a 4th land. We draw another Pillage. Well, they've drawn a lot of extra cards, but we might as well try. I was somewhat tempted to Cleansing Wildfire our own land here, but I don't think it's worth it. Because if they do have a counter spell, I don't want to show them that we could do that. So this is probably Is It Control doing the whole constantly loop counter spells thing. Okay, so they put Remand on top of their deck. They Archmage's Charm to draw 2 cards. Okay, they play an island. We draw a Lightning Bolt. So I'm going to Cleansing Wildfire Flagstones. If they remand it, we just do that again. Mana Leak. Okay. So no, they're still holding Remand. Pass the turn, leave up Bolt. This just looks like blue-red counter spells. Which I'm not sure we have a great matchup, especially when they're running 1-mana counter spells. If my opponent did not have that Spell Snare, they would be in a terrible position right now. We untap. Draw another Flagstones. So attempt a Pillage on Steam Vents. I suspect we just get remanded. Because why wouldn't we? Yep. Okay. So that's all the cards we know of. Play Flagstones. Tutor out the Triome. Pass the turn. Play around Mana Leak and Remand at this point. So, Pillage? I suspect they'll do another Mystic Sanctuary shenanigans thing and Force of Negation. Okay. Pass the turn. When it untaps, they opt Mystic Sanctuary, putting opt on top of their deck. Okay. Well, we untap. We draw another Flagstones. Play another Flagstones. Keep the new one. Tutor up Sacred Foundry. We will not pay 2 life. Play a Johnny. Okay, opponent Cryptic. This is why nobody likes Mystic Sanctuary. This and my Time Warp deck. So opponent presumably just cast the opt that they put on top of their deck. Opponent plays a Thing in the Ice. Okay, we untap. We draw a Chandra, Acolyte of Flame. Play Karn. Okay. Mystic Sanctuary number 3. Putting Cryptic on top of their deck. Scalding Tarn for a Mountain. This deck should be running Boil in the sideboard. So Cryptic on top of our opponent's deck. And Cryptic in hand. So I'm going to go ahead and just concede because that's like unbeatable for our deck. They're getting to the point where they could do like multiple Cryptics a turn. So this is where we want Chandra and where we want Guttural Response. I'm going to go down Firebolt and a Lightning Helix and a Lightning Bolt. We're going to try it like that. I want the Grave Hate in the deck, so I'm keeping the Relics in, and we'll see what happens. Alright, we'll play first. No mana disruption. I think we have to mulligan. That hand's otherwise, like, okay. Alright, we'll try it. See if our opponent has a Spell Snare. I'm gonna put back Flagstones. Cascading Cataracts is way better if we have to Cleansing Wildfire ourselves. So start Sacred Foundry tapped. Pass the turn. Odds are my opponent just, if my opponent leaves a fetch land up on their turn, I'll Cleansing Wildfire myself. And if they don't, I would boom. So play Cascading Cataract. Cleansing Wildfire. Okay. When it cracks Misty, here's hoping it's for an opt or a tap land. Okay. I mean, like, so if I was going to tailor make a deck to beat the deck that I'm currently playing, it would be what my opponent has right now. Okay. They play a tap land. So let's, at this point, oops, we're going to boom. They have to have another Spell Snare. Okay, they opt. It's extremely likely they have another land. So it's not like, but we have to, ooh. We have to keep them off of mana as much as possible. So play a Snow-Covered Plains. And we are going to Cleansing Wildfire ourselves. Getting a Mountain. We draw Pillage, which is good. In fact, it's actually great. If we draw... I was gonna say, if we draw a land that doesn't actually do anything. Opponent has to discard Thing in the Ice. Draw Cleansing Wildfire. I think at this point, though, we're doing one thing and one thing only. And that's getting my opponent on no permanence. Opponent has to discard to hand size. We draw a Day of Judgment. Play Karn. Go ahead and wish for a Trinisphere. Pass the turn. Okay. Opponent finds a Scalding Tarn. Plays a Steam Vents untapped. Lightning Bolts Karn. We draw an Inspiring Vantage. So play the Vantage. Play Trinisphere. They have to have Force for this, though. They don't. Alright. So next turn, if we draw an untapped land, we can play Chandra and downtick for Pillage, which would be sweet. Okay. In that case, what we're going to do is Cleansing Wildfire ourself. Get our last basic. We draw a Talisman that we can't cast, that's fine. Okay, pass the turn. We'll see if our opponent can top deck another land in a row. They can. Okay. They're casting a spell proactively. Young Pyromancer. Well, We draw Chandra, Awakened Inferno. Do we nuke a land or do we light our opponent on fire? I think we nuke a land, because they can't cast anything right now. Oops. And while Chandra does die to an attacking young Pyromancer, it's not like they can counter Chandra Awakened Inferno anyway. We cannot hit Boom and Bust with Chandra, so that's worth noting. So pillage our opponent's Steam Vents. They now have to top deck another land. They did not. So they kill Chandra. We untap and draw Chandra Torch of Defiance. Yep. Play big Chandra. Like big Chandra. We are going to kill young Pyromancer because it does make elementals. It only costs 1 loyalty. Pass the turn. Nice! Alright, we did get there. So I think we have to kind of get a little bit lucky again. If we get a good turn with Guttural Response with land destruction, like land destruction with Guttural Response backup, we're probably going to be okay. But the fact that our opponent can have a counter spell for literally every turn of the game and then starts buying them back is kind of ridiculous. Remand is a card that is very good against our deck, because we're trying to cast one big spell a turn. We're trying to, like, you know, on 1 we're casting a 1-drop, like Relic or Bolt or whatever, and on 2 we're casting Land Destruction, and on 3 we're casting Land Destruction. And it takes up all of our mana to do that every turn, so I'm going to keep this because this is one of our best chances. I'm not thrilled about it, because the odds that my opponent has something is pretty high. But we just don't really have any other strong options. We're going to start Cascading Cataracts past the turn. Kind of hoping they just tap out for a Pyromancer. But if they do that, then they have a Force. And if they have a Force, we're having a bad time. They fetch and shock a Steam Vents for an Opt. Okay. It's possible that my opponent's deck isn't all that consistent. Like, they have to have specific counterspells on specific turns. And, of course, if their mana is being disrupted, maybe they won't. But, like... Okay, young Pyro. Draw Triome. Play Inspiring Vantage. Let's go ahead and boom. We need to keep them off of mana if we want to have any chance of winning. So they would have to have Force of Negation here to actually do anything about this. They do. They pitch Frantic Inventory. They make a token, and they counter boom. So now the problem is my opponent has an active young Pyromancer with potentially counterspells. We take 3, untap, we draw Flagstones, so shock Sacred Foundry, attempt to pillage. Okay, they crack Polluted Delta, get an island. Remand. They put pillage back in our hand. Mystic Sanctuary, putting Force of Negation on top of their deck. They hit us for 4. We untap. We draw another Boom Bust. So odds are whatever we play is going to get countered, and our opponent is going to have a counterspell next turn. If that's the case, our best bet here is to play Nahiri the Harbinger, even though she dies to what our opponent is playing, or what our opponent has on board. Our best bet is to try and resolve a Nahiri and down tick on young Pyromancer to kind of like stem the bleeding. But, you know, why would that work? Alright, we're basically dead at this point. Yeah, because even if we draw a Day of Judgment, which would be our only out, my opponent is now going to be holding a Force of Negation. So, yeah, I'm not going to play the rest of that out. There's just no way for us to win. Can I concede? Thank you. Alright, well, we're 2-2 going into the final round. And a lot of our games, we've been on the draw. So being on the play here... which is what I was hoping for, is a considerable advantage for a deck like ours. Opponent revealed Luris. I want Land Destruction on turn 2, if I can get it. This is probably not that bad. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to put back a Cascading Cataracts. This is about the same power level as our first hand. I just don't want to mulligan too low. So start Needle Verge Pathway into a Relic of Progenitus. This is probably going to tell my opponent what we're doing, but... Okay. Opponent's first turn. You know, I probably should have kept my initial hand now that I think about it, because they're probably going to start Hand Hate. Swamp Thoughtseize. Alright. You can take Talisman, Pillage, or Karn. They take Karn. Interesting. Well, exile their Thoughtseize. Untap, we draw Savai Triome. So play Cataracts, play Talisman, pass the turn. Opponent gets a Flooded Strand and is passing. So maybe this is not Mardu or Rakdos Shadow. Maybe this is some variant of like Esper Shadow, maybe? Well, opponent knows what we have, so that's what we're going to cast. Pillage the Swamp. I'm going to float a black mana, sure. Past second main. We're going to Thieves Guild Enforcer. Oh, this is Mill. Interesting. I was thinking this was definitely Shadow. And it's not, it's Mill. Okay. Play the Triome, pass the turn. I don't know how our Mill matchup is. Oh, you know what? It's fantastic! We have an Evercool in this deck! We have an Evercool in the main deck! Oh, man. And our opponent is playing Mill. Hopefully, this means it's an easy win. Hopefully. Okay, opponent cracks Flooded Strand for a Watery Grave. Untapped. Scheming Symmetry. Oh, opponent, I don't think you wanted to do that. Each player searches their library for a card, and then shuffles and puts that card on top. Oh, they're gonna archive trap us. Should I get the Emrakul? Probably not. Because if our opponent doesn't cast anything, I think what I'll do is I'll grab... let's see, we'll be on 4 mana. I'll grab a Johnny. Scheming Symmetry is not like... It doesn't say each player may search their library. It says each player searches their library. So we have to search. Okay. Opponent hits us for 1. Oh, they just milled us with Wind Robber. Okay. We'll play Flagstones. Let's go ahead and pillage. Hang on. Okay, we're going to restart the client. Alright, we're back. Go ahead and make them exile a card from their grave. Okay. Pass the turn. If they mill us again and we get over 8 cards in graveyard, I'm just going to crack Relic. Unless, of course, they mill Emrakul. Okay. Another Thieves Guild Enforcer. Yeah, there's nothing like that we have to have now, so we're gonna exile and draw, get an additional draw to like a Wrath, and hopefully shrink the Thieves Guild Enforcers, so that we're merely getting beaten down with 1/1s. Opponent sacks to draw. Okay. Probably figures they need more land. Okay, we draw a Snow-Covered Mountain. They hit us for 1, down to 17. We untap and draw Nahiri. Play Nahiri. We can exile a Thieves Guild Enforcer, which slows down the mill a lot. I think that's better. It's unlikely that they can mill us. I mean, if they cast like a Glimpse the Unthinkable or a Maddening Cacophony or something, then sure. Actually, probably shouldn't have played out that land, now that I think about it. I should have kept that in hand in case we drew something we wanted to play next turn. Nahiri should tip him off, though, that we have an Eldrazi in the main deck. Alright, plays a Ruin Crab, milling us. Milling a Boom and Bust, a Day of Judgment, and a Inspiring Vantage. I think they have to attack Nahiri here. They do. Okay. Nahiri goes to 1. Untap. Draw an Inspiring Vantage. So, loot away the Inspiring Vantage. We draw a Cleansing Wildfire. Which I'm going to hit myself with... Oops, hang on. If they have an Archive Trap, so be it. Get a Plains, we draw Darksteel Citadel, and get a Sacred Foundry tapped. Play Darksteel Citadel. Shouldn't have played that out either, but I did. Pass the turn. Now my opponent can kill Nahiri. Alright, so we just have to not draw Emrakul. I did not think that through before I did that. I should not have done that. But at least we have all the mana we could ever need. and a dream. Okay, opponent cantrips with Visions of Beyond. They are looking for a land to play so that they can mill us with Ruin Crab and one-hit Nahiri. Thankfully, they did not find it. So Nahiri goes to 2. We untap. We draw a Lightning Bolt. So Lightning Bolt, the threat. Uptick Nahiri. Pass the turn. I mean, if she gets to 8, my opponent loses. Unless they have, like, Cryptic Mana and they get to Cryptic Mana. Because even if they had 3 Archive Traps and they milled us in response to Emrakul attacking them, Emrakul would still kill them in 1 hit. Okay, I'm going to loot away this Flagstones. I would like to draw more land destruction or removal for the crab. Okay. We'll hold on to the mountain. Pass the turn. Hopefully my opponent does not have another Thieves Guild Enforcer. They've already played 2, but we ran up against the Triple Maelstrom Wanderer. I always say that. Mausoleum Wanderer. Okay. So my opponent mills us for 6. They put a Firebolt in the grave. Okay. So we untap. Draw Flagstones. They're going to surgically extract Firebolt. That's fine. So they get to look at our deck and they will see Emrakul. I guess technically I shouldn't be looting because that would give me the opportunity to draw Emrakul. But we're going to hit him with it next turn. And I think without a Thieves Guild Enforcer, there's nothing they can do to stop that. Okay. Draw a Talisman. So, -8. Get the old Flying Spaghetti Monster. Okay, opponent Archive traps us. I don't think there's any cantrips that my opponent would be playing that targeted draw. Because I guess if they had another instant speed mill spell like another Archive trap and could force us to draw a card, we would die. Alright. We get him with Flying Spaghetti Monster Emrakul. So we're bringing in Guttural Response, and we're going down probably Cleansing Wildfire, actually. Can we do that? Is that too integral to what we're doing? I don't think so. I think we can go down a couple. Us getting Archive trapped into like an early Surgical on Emrakul when it doesn't shuffle in a huge number of cards could potentially be very bad for us. I think we're better off just trying to focus on destroying our opponent's lands. Alright. Let's try it. Opponent starts Watery Grave and passes. We draw a Lightning Bolt. Play Inspiring Vantage, pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays a Thieves Guild Enforcer, milling Chandra Torch of Defiance and a Mountain. Opponent plays a Hedron Crab and an Island, milling us for 3 more cards. They attack us for 1, sure. Alright, well we gotta bolt the crab. Okay, so like Boom and Bust would be good. Play Sacred Foundry tapped. Pass the turn. I'm glad we're not playing fetches. Though I still wish I had Sunbaked Canyons, because this deck would be a lot better with them. Opponent attacks us for 1, sure. Plays a Watery Grave tapped. We untap. We draw Cascading Cataracts. Play Darksteel Citadel. Pillage. Next turn, if we draw another untapped red source, we can Chandra to bolt the Thieves Guild Enforcer. Okay. My opponent has Drown in the lock, so pass the turn, F6. Opponent plays a Lurrus. They can play the Crab. They hit us for 1. We draw Flagstones. Play Flagstones, pass the turn. Just leave up Guttural Response. Okay. Opponent attacks us for 4. So take 4, go to 13. Pass. We draw a Talisman of Conviction. So play Talisman. Play Chandra. Okay. Down tick Chandra on Lightning Bolt. Bolt Luris. Okay. We got rid of the Nightmare Cat. Okay, opponent plays a land and mills over Emrakul. They don't have Surgical right now. They're kind of in trouble. Because that'll shrink the... Alright, that'll shrink the Thieves Guild Enforcer. Hardcast Archive Trap, thus making Thieves Guild Enforcer big enough to kill Chandra again. So Chandra down. We draw a Torch of Defiance. So we can either Flashback Firebolt or play Chandra here. I think Flashback Firebolt is better. I want to hit the crab, but I think that's less important than hitting this right now. Okay, pass the turn. Torch of Defiance is a little bit sketchy if we're upticking, because if we're upticking to draw cards, we could hit Emrakul and then we would likely lose. So we have to be a little bit careful. Probably just tick up for mana. Can we draw Emeria's Call? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Yeah, let's cast an Emeria's Call. Let's see what happens. We have a guttural response if our opponent has a Drown in the lock. Let's make some 4/4 angels and start beating down. That's the first time I've cast this card. It felt pretty great. Opponent Archive traps us. So, guttural response. Tell him no. Opponent Visions of Beyond as just a cantrip. It's not Ancestral Recall right now, thankfully. I'm really glad we countered that Archive trap. Okay, opponent mills us with an Obero. We draw Nahiri. Play Chandra. Go to combat. Attack for 8. I'm doing this a little out of order, but... Opponent takes 8, goes to 13. So the way that our opponent can get us is if they have a Ravenous Trap in response to milling Emrakul into our grave, that would be bad. Uptick Nahiri to 6. Pass the turn. Okay, they pick up Obero. They play Obero, milling 2 Nahiris. Okay. Ancestral Recall for our opponent. It's pretty good. They play a Merfolk Windrobber. And then they pass. We draw Needleverge Pathway. So downtick Chandra to kill the Windrobber. Okay. They sack to draw. Basically want to make sure we can keep getting in the air with these 2 angels. Go to combat. Attack for 8. Another Visions. So another Ancestral Recall. It's pretty good. Okay, no blocks for our opponent. They take 8 and go to 5. Okay. Tick up Nahiri to 8. We will not be discarding a card. Pass the turn. Make them think we got something. So if they don't have an answer to Nahiri, we get Emrakul again. Which I'm pretty sure just kills them. If they have only 1 blocker or only 1 removal spell, we can attack with the angels, then uptick Chandra to kill them. And we can do that after getting Emrakul to make sure that we don't hit Emrakul on Chandra. So 1 blue mana. What are they doing? Play a Ruin Crab. They could pick up Obero and replay it using only its own mana. Play a Mystic Sanctuary. They're going to mill us for 6. Putting Archive Trap back on top of their deck. We mill 6. So, yep, they put Archive Trap back. They play a Windrobber, but can they stop an Emrakul? So they can sack Windrobber to draw Archive Trap, and they can Archive Trap us if we ult Nahiri. I mean, they're dead if we draw a Firebolt or Lightning Bolt, of which we still have 4 in the deck. I should have uptick Chandra for mana, I think, if I didn't downtick last turn. It's been so long, I can't remember because my opponent's playing really slow. And I'm very tired because I should have been in bed 45 minutes ago. But I got hyped about this deck. Okay, draw Karn. Can Karn grab anything that just wins the game here? Can grab Glass Casket, which can remove my opponent's last blocker and force them to have something else. Play Karn. Go ahead and wish. Could also get Witchbane Orb. That might be kind of funny. But I think we try and just win now. So play Glass Casket. Opponent drown in the locks to stop the casket. Interesting. So go to combat. Attack for 8. They surgically extract Lightning Bolt. Okay? Don't have the Lightning Bolt. If they block and have a removal spell, we're in a little bit of trouble, I think. Okay, they block. They sack to draw. Alright, I think we get them with the Chandra uptick. Nice! Nice! We 3 and 2'd! First time piloting the deck, including making some mistakes. Let's see what we get in our treasure chest. Archfiend of Depravity. Depravity? Not worth anything, and 10 play points. Okay. Let me bring up the deck list here. We'll talk for just a little bit, and then I'm going to go to bed. So, janky white-red. Alright, notes. So, the deck felt great. Sunbaked Canyon, absolutely a must. Play it over Inspiring Vantage if you've got it. I really wish I had it, because I'd love to see this deck at maximum power. Cleansing Wildfire, hitting your own lands was sweet. Just like Rampant Growth that draws you a card is really good, like really good. I'd like to see maybe one more basic. I think I could probably drop a Sacred Foundry and play a Plains, though red mana is kind of hard for the way that I currently have this mana base set up. So maybe even drop like a Darksteel Citadel or a Needle Verge Pathway for just a mountain. Needle Verge Pathway, I didn't really get the chance to see any good highlights for. The utility of it seems great, but it might just be better off as a mountain. Even the Triome, probably. I could probably drop the Pathway for a mountain and the Triome for a Plains. Because there was a couple of times where I wanted a Cleansing Wildfire and we didn't have any basics left. We didn't play against Tron, so I didn't get to test it out versus Tron, but we should beat on Tron pretty hard. Chandra Acolyte, not necessarily the best pick for this deck. I think we need more spells that Chandra can hit for her to be better. We did have an excellent game where we had a Johnny and Nahiri, and Chandra just like in 2 turns had them both ulting. So we Armageddoned only our opponent, not us, and then got an Emrakul, and it was super sweet. We could have won either way there, and it was fantastic. I really think the sack lands are like the number one thing that's missing out of this deck. And the rest of it feels really good. Like Amaria's Call won us a game versus Mill of all things. Like that was sweet. Guttural Response felt pretty good. I might want to see a Defense Grid out of the sideboard. Kind of fills the same role as Guttural Response, sort of. Guttural Response actually countering the spell, though, not just stopping my opponent from casting it, is pretty sweet. Defense Grid also doesn't synergize with Trinisphere. Cost increase and Trinisphere don't necessarily synergize, so yeah, I'm not sure. I think just some adjustments to the mana base, really. And maybe, like, I see why Kaya was in the deck originally. So the deck originally had 2 Kaya and a basic Swamp, the Savai Triome, and Oath of Kaya. So Oath of Kaya is sweet because when you're playing this many Planeswalkers, and your opponent has to attack your Planeswalkers, you start gaining life and shooting down the creatures, and it's sweet. And it in itself is basically a Lightning Helix, so I played Lightning Helix over it, which I was kind of glad that I did. I liked having the burn as removal. It was pretty sweet. Anger of the Gods. I wanted Anger of the Gods in this list because Day of Judgment, Wrath of God were kind of slow. It's also a little awkward to have this much white mana requirement. Because once again, we just had a lot of trouble getting to red mana sometimes, because we have double red requirements and then we have double white requirements on top of it. And I'm not saying that Day of Judgment, Wrath of God is bad. I think this deck needs that effect, but I think it also needs access to some of the better red sweepers. In fact, maybe even Storm's Wrath or Sweltering Suns. for the possibility of cycling, I think could be good. We actually busted with a bunch of indestructible lands on the battlefield, and that was awesome. Like, it just felt so mean. It's just like super, super good. I wonder if there's any other artifacts that can fit into this list in the main deck. Talisman of Conviction sort of competes with Cleansing Wildfire because they kind of do the same thing. Cleansing Wildfire is better in the majority of cases. It's possible we don't need Firebolt either. Lightning Bolt might be enough. We might want to replace Firebolt with Flame Slash. I definitely would if I was playing against a meta full of Eldrazi-tron. Although this deck would probably wail on Eldrazi-tron pretty hard. I might consider swapping the Firebolts out for something like Chromatic Star, simply to help with the red requirement, and especially because I don't have the sack lands to help kind of like get through the deck a little bit quicker. But all in all, this deck was super fun for me to play. I hope it was really fun to watch, because we did some mean things to good people, and anytime we can do that during a league, it's a good league. I've rambled enough, so thank you all so much for watching. You're all wonderful human beings. If you like this video, please leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you are so inclined. You can also follow me on Twitch, same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, I hope to see you there sometime. We're up to 207 followers on Twitch, as well as 460-some subscribers on YouTube, which the last few videos have gotten me like 3 subscribers every video, which is 466. So we're very, very close to the 500 mark, and that's got me real excited. Anyway, thank you all so much. You're all wonderful human beings, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye!